I've made a 5-page list of some of the things that we did over the years so we could kind of remember them. And we are going to go through and mention the honorable mentions and the ones that we like the best. We travel with our toy hauler and we bring toys with us, and we have some electric bikes that we bring. And we also have a side-by-side we call Julius. We brought kayaks with us, some hard kayaks that we got new this year. And we do a little bit of fishing, that sort of thing. So this is going to encompass a lot of different kinds of travel. We live in Colorado, and we do a lot of outdoor activities. And even when we chased 70 degrees this winter, we tried to find some outdoor activities that we could enjoy. And we made it down to Florida for the very purpose of kayaking the springs, but we hit big cities. We also try to do like little towns, like hidden gems, places that people don't know about that we think are really special. And we're going to kind of just go through them one by one. So the first category is our favorite paddle, honorary mentions.
Silver Springs was fun.
Merritt Mill Pond, I think, was an honorable mention.
Yeah, it was fun. It wasn't a spring, but it was a
spring-fed pond or lake. Our favorite of that.
The word I can't say again.
Icknicktuchee.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
It was clear, not very deep. A lot of wildlife, manatees, alligators.
Some divers
that we floated over.
It was the most stunning by far. Yeah. Favorite highway drive. We drove a lot of miles. Chasing 70 degrees, we put on almost 10,000 miles. Prior to that, we did a 1,000-mile trip around Utah to break in our new truck. We did a lot of traveling in Colorado. So we did a lot of highway miles and went through, I think it's 11 states that we ended up, 15 states, I think, we ended up traveling through. So favorite highway drive, honorable mentions.
Well, the Utah one for sure. You might as well go ahead and tell them now. That was our favorite. The Smoky Mountains was really nice. And then the Ozarks, especially down around Branson and that area. Really pretty and not flat. So
yeah, started getting into the rolling hills again.
So that was probably my favorites.
In Utah, do you have a favorite section? Because we did 1,000 miles in Utah.
Probably the section of the southwest corner where we were going by Lake Powell, in that area. Just a lot of really pretty red rock and desert.
Whole drive was really spectacular. I think so too. I looked it up. It was Highway 95 from Natural Bridges to Hanksville. I think that was my favorite only because it surprised me. Everybody talks about scenic Highway 12. And that's really pretty too. And there's a lot of great stops along it. But I think that particular drive just was so stunning to me. I was kind of shocked at how pretty it was. Okay, favorite off-road drive. So these are the ones that we took our side-by-side on. Got into the backcountry of Colorado, went into Utah in the fall, and did some trails there. Honorable mentions for that.
The wedge up in Utah was a lot of fun, just driving along the edge of the rim of they call it the Little Grand Canyon. That was pretty cool. Fix-It Pass in that same area. It had some pretty spectacular views. The Trestle Road and Telluride had a lot of neat history stuff that we saw.
The one that kind of sticks out to me was Fix-It Pass. And I think the reason it sticks out to me is as we were driving up, it was kind of rough. It was challenging. It was a challenging drive. In the end, if you're going to look at drives, Colorado still is my favorite, even though we live here and maybe we're just biased for Colorado, but I think Colorado is shockingly beautiful, and everywhere we go here, it doesn't disappoint. So the next category is natural wonders, and we hit a lot of really cool things with the natural wonders. Florida caverns, natural bridges, Capitol Reef. Some of these were state parks. Some of these were national parks. Kodachrome, Devil's Garden. What's an honorable mention for you?
Basically, everything we went to in Utah is honorable mention. I know you liked the oaks.
Wow, that is one big live oak tree. That was really cool. Can you pick one?
Bryce Canyon, because of the beauty.
Oh, man. Bryce Canyon. I wasn't even thinking Bryce Canyon.
If you're a hiker, which we're too old to do that, would have been great. But just on the edge looking down at those rock formations was just spectacular.
Yeah, that was, I kind of forgot about that. I was thinking Devil's Garden because it was such a surprised. We got out and walked around and
Walked across an arch. And
Bryce was definitely better, but if you're in the area for Devil's Garden, that was definitely
And you could walk to it and across it.
yes, you could walk to it. You could go up and touch things. Favorite historical sites. So we visited an awful lot of, Fort Worth Stockyards I put on this list because it really is an historical site. It's kind of a tourist attraction now, but a lot of history there. Jefferson Davis Home and Library, which we would never have even thought to go with. Eden State Gardens, Castillo de San Marcos. Went to a lot of forts. Learned a lot of history through going to those forts. Went to some historic bridges. The Bridge of Lions in St. Augustine and the bridge in Waco I thought was really cool. Wormslow Historic Site outside of Savannah and the Tabby Ruins in St. Mary's. A lot of really cool sites along the Ormond Loop. Below Plantation State Park. Learned a lot about the Tabby Ruins of the sugar plantations and the history behind that, and that was really cool. What's your favorite?
Can't remember the name of it, but it was one that was on the way to Hilton Head. Is that Fort Clinch? Was that?
That was Fort Pulaski.
Fort Pulaski. Oh yeah, that's right, Fort Pulaski. Because it not only had a lot of the forts were really interesting, but this one had actual history of the Civil War and what happened to it, and scenes that you can still see from the Civil War. As an added sidetrack, they blew off cannons, so that was even better.
They were celebrating their 100-year anniversary of becoming a national monument.
Yeah.
And so they had a nice little performance, and the ranger there was super good. Next category, favorite museum. We went to a lot of museums, even Cooter's Museum in Nashville, if you like Dukes of Hazzard.
And I'm not a museum person. That was pretty up there for me.
They had a lot of memorabilia from that. But Dealey Plaza, the 6th floor in Dallas.
Where Kennedy was shot from. That was interesting. The one, as a museum goes, as far as giving history and stuff, the Tennessee State Museum was very well laid out, nice building. That was probably one of my favorites, even topping Cooters.
Oh, Cooters.
Cooters.
I think, Cooters is just kind of a funny side note, but sometimes when they say, oh, it's a free museum, sometimes you just don't expect a whole lot. I think that the Tennessee State Museum is the best. Was the best museum I think I've ever been to. It had a great U.S. history, and then they intertwined Tennessee's part in that history. They did such a good job. It was interactive throughout the whole museum. There was so much stuff to look at. It was very good. I actually enjoyed the Tybee Island Lighthouse too. I learned a lot about lighthouses. That was just something that was sort of new to me. I didn't really know that much about lighthouses, and the one at Tybee Island was pretty interesting. Okay, favorite bike ride.
Well, let's go back just a little bit. The Lane Motorworks.
Oh yeah, that's
so many interesting cars that you will never see anywhere else.
That was in Nashville. That was that, and I'm not even in cars, and I was blown away by some of the really unique, one-of-a-kind, and he's really into niche vehicles. So this was like a museum made for him. So it was very good.
They had one car that was made for a fire department that had narrow roads, that you could drive it from the front going in, and then get out of that seat, get in the other seat going the other way, and drive it going back out without turning around.
Yeah, that's the one that I remember the most is that one.
Yeah, it's a really cool looking car.
Very, very cool. And their collection that they display, it's only a fraction of what they own. They buy up these unique vehicles and restore them, and then they switch them out. So if you lived in that area, or you came back to visit, you could see a whole new set of vehicles. It was definitely worth seeing. Okay, favorite bike ride. So we have 2 electric bikes that we call the Bronco bikes because they're orange and blue. And we like our electric bikes a lot. And even in the bigger cities, we would try to find places that we could go to and find a trail. So out of the bike rides, what are some honorable mentions?
I liked riding the bikes on the beach at Ormond Beach. I liked the Galveston, what was that? The Galveston?
The seawall?
Seawall, where you're riding down right next to the ocean. And
you're passing all these different monuments on your way, and then you've got the ocean to one side. That was cool. That was very neat. There was another honorable mention, I think, is in Pigeon Forge. There was a Riverwalk trail,
Oh yeah.
and that
Yeah.
followed the river, and it was really neat because Pigeon Forge is very touristy and the traffic is kind of horrendous, but you could get on that and take your bike and go to different parts of the town, and it was really beautiful scenery. So I would say that that's probably an honorable mention too. So out of all of those, your favorite was?
Probably Ormond Beach, for two reasons. Not only the bike ride, but that was a place where you could actually drive out onto the beach and you could take your dog out on the beach.
Yeah, Ormond Beach was neat. It was neat. It was a neat experience for us to be able to take our bikes on the beach.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And we were able to do that at Hilton Head too, and did it for a little bit longer there. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Hilton Head. Actually, Hilton Head has an amazing trail system. I can't remember how many miles long it is, but
In the
it's
town, not
in the
only on the
town.
beach,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it was very bike friendly. The whole town was very bike friendly. Favorite hike? We actually did quite a few hikes. Oh, I know what my favorite is.
Let me guess, the Slot Canyon.
Yeah. So when we were in off of Buckhorn Draw, there's a trail called Furniture Draw, and it's a slot canyon. It's the first slot canyon I've ever hiked, and it's an easy one. That's why I could hike it. And it just was way, way cool. I also really liked the tunnel cave at Florida Caverns. You had to crawl underneath and go in this little tunnel, and that was just kind of unique. That was different.
It wasn't in the caverns. It was outside the caverns.
Yeah, it was
just on the
outside.
trail.
It was just some of the trails that were outside the caverns. And another one I really liked a lot at St. Andrews State Park was Gator Lake Trail. That was a really unique trail too. And then there's one more on this list that I think is worth mentioning too: the Spur Trail at Lake Griffin. So that was the one.
Oh yeah, it went out. It was like the bike trails, except it was really skinny and you had to walk it. But it was also, some places were so wet that they had put these planks across so that you could get through it. So you were wandering through the dense jungle.
Yeah. So
on these.
So I'm thinking as we're walking this, is this really a good idea to take Sadie? Because, this is like Gator Alley here, and when we went out on a boat tour, just shortly after that, the tour guy said, oh yeah, we would never take our dog there.
You must have a little dog.
I don't know. Yeah, sure. Okay. So favorite state park, 20 state parks this past year. A lot of them were in Florida. The ones that we stayed at.
My favorite was St. Andrews, probably because it was the newest one, because it got wiped out by one of the hurricanes that came through. So it was newer. But the site that we had was right next to the bayside and on the end. So there was nobody right next to us on the one side. The facilities were good.
So since we're in an RV, what were the most challenging ones to stay at?
Tomoka State Park was probably one of the worst. Griffith was tough to get into.
Sometimes we had to drive literally into somebody else's site in order to get the right angle. And it's a good thing you can back a trailer well, because we would have been in lots of trouble with some of these. We visited a lot of state parks too. Ridgeway State Park is a really nice Colorado state park. It's really the only one that we went to last year. Colorado state parks are expensive. So we don't stay there at them. Yeah, and it's cheaper for us, but
plus there's a lot of dispersed camping that you can do.
Yeah, you can
don't
disperse
have to
camp
stay
here.
at State Park.
Yeah, dispersed camping is our next category.
Hands down, there's two of them, Silverjack and Grand
Hands
Mesa.
down, two of them.
Silverjack has been our favorite spot for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
There's one spot that we can back right up to the river. Grand Mesa was really pretty. I'll bet it would be pretty in the fall when the mosquitoes are down and the colors are changed.
Yes, and if you like to fish, that's where you go. Favorite RV park, private RV park. Now, we don't usually stay at private RV parks. This was actually kind of a new thing for us. So, honorable mentions.
Well, the one I mentioned before that we stayed at in Dallas was really nice amenities. I mean, just super nice. It had a cement pad that you were parked on, a swimming pool, laundry that was easily accessible, big game room, big lounge you could use. The only drawback, it was a little bit too close to the freeways.
And fortunately, we covered that quite a bit in a video. So if you're interested and you're looking to go to Dallas It's a pretty nice private park. It really is. Favorite Harvest Host. So we tried a membership to, it's called Harvest Host, and you have to dry camp there. Some Harvest Hosts actually do have some hookups that you can pay for, but most of it's dry camp. It could be a restaurant, it could be a museum, it could be, somebody's field. When we went to Silver Springs in Anthony, Florida, we had this really nice lady that just had this big old field, and we parked in her field, and man, some of the hosts are just really friendly, and they just want to be around RVers. And she, we told her we wanted to paddle the springs, and she made sure we knew how to go do that and where to go, and it was pretty awesome. So we've even stayed at a church. We had the best sunset at that church in Littleton, Colorado. It was great.
All of these had really nice places to go. There was one that was a little sketchy as far as the people that were around, and that was in Wichita, right next to
Keeper of the Plains.
Keeper of the Plains. There was a lot of people there, and some people stayed a little bit later than they were probably supposed to, and a lot of kids hanging out. That was the only one that was really a little bit
only
sketchy.
place I felt like a little unsafe.
So my favorite was the Warbird Adventures American Dream Sky Ranch, I guess what the name was. It was in South Carolina, and it was out in the middle of nowhere. But the drive there was spectacular, just the rolling hills of South Carolina. And I like planes. And he went and showed me some of the planes they were working on, some of the old Warbird planes. That was too windy for them to be doing any flying. They do some flight instruction there. But I got to see some amazing aircraft that probably wouldn't get to see a lot of places. So
friendly folks. Favorite restaurant? We had a Mexican restaurant in Galveston that I had the best Mexican food I've ever had. And it was just in this little place it was a local place, and it had a little store. We went to this schoolhouse really close to the Warbird Harvest Host. That was a really unique experience.
Because the owner basically gave us a tour of what the schoolhouse used to be. They changed it into a restaurant, but showed us all the different rooms that they were renovating and making this into a really, really nice place.
Yeah,
and they
that
had
was
good
neat.
food.
I think your favorite and my favorite are the same. Although restaurant, it was in St. Andrews, Florida, and it was called Uncle Ernie's.
Looked pretty fancy. I mean, just the outside of it, a two-story building right overlooking I guess it was the bay. Just about everybody had this key lime. We thought it looked like key lime pie. And it might have been key lime pie, but it was more like a key lime cheesecake. Oh, man, that was
It's one of those things
good.
that, if you have something and you dream about it, the whole trip, I dreamed about this the whole trip. That was a really good meal. Favorite park. So we did go to a lot of different parks. Nashville, the Bicentennial Capitol Mall was really impressive. And it had the Carillon.
Atriums is what I was thinking of. I
put down the atriums at Gaylord Opryland Resort, and it's not really a park. It's actually these atriums that are inside this hotel. And if you like botanical gardens, it's kind of like an inside botanical garden.
Inside botanical gardens.
It was like 9 acres. We saw Fort Travis Seashore Park was in Galveston. We just kind of drove by it and what is this? And it's actually a park out on the little island there. And it was like an historical park. It was really kind of cool. It was a neat find. We went to Cameron Park in Waco and about killed ourselves on the bike.
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge park in Waco, Texas, and that was really nice. Venetian Gardens in Leesburg, Florida is another nice place they had all these little islands, and they had these little bridges that you walk over, and there were tons of alligators and birds, and it was a really pretty place just to walk around. But my favorite is Bailey River Bridge Park, and that was in Ormond Beach. It went out to the Halifax River, and it was just people were walking and running out there, and it was just kind of like this big long pier.
Right by the bridge. And it was just really, it was stunning. It was really beautiful. Yeah. I liked that a lot. What was your favorite? There was that park that had all the big oak trees in it, but that was a city park. Oh, well, no, that's a park. Is it? I didn't put that on here. Okay. Yeah, in Mayo, Florida. That's right. Yeah, the guy, we were looking at the live oaks, and the guy told us, hey, go down to the park, because if you like live oaks, there's tons of live oaks, and it was a beautiful park. It was the best part of Mayo, I think. Yep.
And Mayo's just a little dinky town, and it just goes to show you that you can find really cool things in little dinky towns. Favorite beach. So the Hubs is like really into beaches. And what stood out to you? What are the honorable mentions?
Hilton Head, because of the ease of parking, the other amenities they had there, that you could walk your dog out there or take your bike out there. That was probably one of the most easy to get to, cheapest to get to, and the boardwalk was really nice. I was trying to do boogie board, and the only one that was really fun to do that one was probably Anastasia outside of St. Augustine.
I don't get in the water because I don't like fish sucking on my toes. But St. Andrews, I think, was the prettiest beach because they had really, it's that
White sand.
It's that panhandle white sand beach that's just so amazing. Ormond I liked a lot because you got to drive on it. You got to take your dog on it. Favorite town? So like smaller towns like Telluride, Rico, these are in Colorado.
Just the scenery of Telluride is spectacular. And even Rico, for that matter, the scenery that's around there with the mountains.
We went to Mount Dora, which is a really cute Florida town with a lot of lakes around it.
Where's
So we liked St. Mary's, Georgia so much.
Oh yeah, really.
It was a very cute little town, just really authentic. And actually, it's the second oldest town in the U.S. St. Augustine being the first. And it was really cute and really pretty. Favorite city? Savannah. Savannah was
cool.
if you like history, you
Old
need to go to Savannah.
All of the little parks. Well, they don't call them parks. What they call them?
Oh, squares.
Squares, little squares. All
Squares
over the
are
place.
everywhere.
Churches were spectacular.
Oh yeah,
just huge.
Just the architecture. If you like architecture. Favorite shopping. Something that was kind of interesting that we did find is there was a lot of commonalities between Branson and Pigeon Forge. Apparently they had figured it's like, hey, this worked here, so let's do it too. And I don't know who started it, but they both had fountains to draw you into some of the newer shopping areas, and the fountains would go off every half hour and be played to music and choreographed. And those were really neat. And actually to see those at night was really pretty spectacular. It was a really good draw to get you to go in and start walking around downtown. The Daytona flea market was kind of interesting. It was a really big flea market.
Huge. We only probably went through maybe an eighth of it.
Yeah, and everybody's license plates were from out of state. There wasn't any Florida license plates. My favorite part of Waco was the Homestead Craft Village.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was really
working mill, working pottery. Basically baskets. They had all these different buildings where they're making different things and actually had people there doing that.
Probably my favorite shopping though was Marathon Motor Works, and that was they had taken a place where they had manufactured old cars. Part of it stayed in museum to honor those cars. They weren't made for too terribly long. But the other part was like shops and stuff that you can go to. And the shops we didn't go into a lot of the stores, but they were really unique stores. We spent really most of our time looking in the hallway because there was just cool stuff.
Machinery that they used to make
all over
the
the place.
Yeah.
And it was like this little museum, and it was really neat. I liked that a lot. We did go to a couple of theme parks. We went to Anarchista in Gatlinburg. We went to Silver Dollar City outside of Branson.
Anarchista, the view was pretty good because you're looking at the Smoky Mountains. You have to get up there with a chairlift, and then once you get up there, they had some Alpine slide type things you can go down. There was some rope things you could go across. Had a tower that you could go up and look at.
The big thing was the view from up there. You got a really good view of the Smoky Mountains, and the view is really pretty. And there's lots of places for you to sit and look at the view. And then Silver Dollar City.
Silver Dollar City was more of an amusement park.
But there were things for everybody.
Little kids had rides to do. A lot of really good shows, though. They had some pretty neat shows. There was a sort of kind of a vaudeville type show and some other things that were good too.
Oh, sunrises and sunsets. We would always try to get up, especially if there's water around us, we'd always try to get up and see a sunrise or see a sunset because water just does... Well, we just like sunrises and sunsets to begin with. We had some pretty spectacular ones. Did any stand out to you? There's one.
Galveston was really cool.
I think that was one that stood out to me too. We were staying on the bay side of Galveston State Park, and the moon would be setting when it was dark as we'd be driving over
to the beach
side to see the sunrise. And it was just this really cool, It was neat. Were there any places that we talked about that we would actually go back to?
Branson, definitely.
Well, we got to do a lot, but we didn't do shows and that sort of thing. I'm chemical sensitive, and so I can't be in an auditorium where I can't get up and move to get away from people who wear perfume because I get real sick. If I can get to the point where I can tolerate more chemicals, then, going to a show in Branson would be really fun. And we do a lot of things cheap. In fact, the theme of this year ended up being we did Galveston on the cheap. We did Daytona on the cheap. Everything we didn't really spend a lot of money, but we really felt like we got a good flavor for each of the places that we visited without having to spend a lot of money. But in Galveston, I kind of wish we'd have gone to the oil rig museum because that was something really unique to Texas. And I mentioned it and we were going to do it, and then we just kind of didn't because we just had so many other things. We hope you join us next season as we travel with our toy hauler and our pup Sadie. Thanks for watching.
How does a cow do math? He uses a calculator.